We're all looking for that juice in the middle rounds of our fantasy drafts. So we're looking at those upside wide receivers. Those RB2s are in the middle rounds as well. But one rookie wide receiver that people are paying attention to is Keon Coleman. He's in a great situation with the Buffalo Bills. He's got tremendous upside. We're going to look at whether you need him or not for fantasy football. I think this one, you need to watch it through to gather all the information, because it's going to be on you whether you want him or not, because some people may not, some people might. But we're going to cover the news, the facts, the advanced metrics, and everything else, so you got your information for draft day. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now, because we're covering these players every day, doing these deep dives. We're also doing player lists, going over the news, going over player values in season. We're talking about the waiver wire. We're helping you with those pickups. We're helping you set your lineups and everything else with that. Click that button. Stop missing out. That's what you're going to get here, and it's all free. Curtis Samuel's currently on the mend, dealing with turf toe. He might be back for week 1. We don't know. There's not much news on that, but you just got to stay Bayesian with that. You still got to be fluid, but that means there could be openings in the offense for targets going forward. But going to Keon Coleman with that in mind, coming out of high school, was ranked as the 42nd best wide receiver per 24/7 Sports. But the thing to look at, he had 43 offers. College football was all over him. He was very good at basketball. He's very good when the ball's in the air. And not just the schools listed here, but big-time programs like USC, Georgia. Top-tier schools were after him, which means he was a good prospect coming out of high school. And then in college, at Michigan State 2022, he broke out, catching 58 balls for 798 yards. Then transferred to Florida State and started off good. That game against LSU, off the rip, making plays. Put everybody on notice as a top draft pick for this year's draft. 658 yards and 50 balls caught first year at Florida State. But the one thing you want to notice from the advanced metrics, looking at 2023 and 2022, is the ADOT, the average depth of target down there. The distance traveled when the ball's in the air when it's targeted to Keon Coleman, 12.3, 12.4 when he was getting the workload, which means he's a deep threat, which means he gets targeted deep downfield. And what that means for fantasy football is if you bring a couple deep balls in on any given day, that means you can deliver some splash production. You might be volatile, but if you're on the field and you got a good average depth of target and you're running deep routes and you bring in a ball or two, you might be able to deliver some big-time production. We'll talk more on that as we work through Keon Coleman's advanced metrics. But another thing to note, he broke out at age 19 at Michigan State, which when you compare the breakout ages among the other rookie wide receivers from the 2024 NFL draft class, is very good. And an early breakout age is a good prerequisite. It's not written in stone. It doesn't mean he will or anybody will break out at the NFL level and be a big-time playmaker, but it is usually a prerequisite for most wide receivers who do break out. Meaning most wide receivers who break out at the NFL level usually break out with it. Looking at this depth chart, it's very ambiguous. It's even more ambiguous with the Curtis Samuel injury with the turf toe. We got to pay attention to that. That is an injury that could linger for quite some time as well after he comes back on the field. But looking at the wide receivers here, looking at him being a top selection in the NFL draft at the 201 draft spot, we got Khalil Shakur here. I look for him to be a breakout guy, for him to get some opportunity deep downfield. I look for Curtis Samuel, if he's back healthy, getting the short targets. Keon Coleman on the field running routes, should be getting deep balls, should be getting opportunities. That's one thing we got to pay attention to week 1, week 2, week 3. If he's on the field consistently, the depth of his routes, which is probably going to be deep, and if they're slinging deep balls, which they will be going to Keon Coleman here or there, because Josh Allen, second in the league of pass attempts for 20 yards or more, 76 of those. And we know this. That is part of the Josh Allen portfolio from the last few years when he was in the league, even back in Wyoming. He is a gunslinger. He throws those YOLO balls downfield, 76 of them last year. And you look at how he sprays the ball around, we're going deep. We're tossing it downfield, 20 yards or more. But the thing is, balls that are deep downfield, sometimes they go past the wide receiver. They're more contested. But if a wide receiver gets targeted deep on the consistent and they bring in one or two of those balls here and there, you could get that splash performance. That could set you up for a big game-winning week. That could help you out big time, and that's something you could see out of Keon Coleman. The thing is, that could give you Gabe Davis-like production. There are separation issues with him. I'm going to give you the quotes with that because a lot of people bring that up. You do kind of see that on tape, but you got to understand that really creating separation around the middle of the field isn't really part of his game. It's get downfield, it's find the spot, ball's coming your way, you box him out, you use that length, you use that extension to get it. But you look at preseason, you look at the good highlights, you look at that curl route around the boundary, he was able to create separation there, he was able to create separation on the slant. It's not like he can't create separation, it's just his game is a little bit different. But you also got to dually notice that because that could lead to him in some instances not getting targeted, not getting some opportunities, but there could be also instances due to how he plays the game, he gets those deep targets. That being said, as a rookie, baseline, you might see spiky production. You might see some games where like, where's this guy at? Where's this guy at? What's he doing? And then next thing you know, 22 points. Then a few more games, where's this guy doing? What is he doing on the field right now? Next thing you know, 23 fantasy points. It could be like that. One, he's a rookie. Rookies need time to ramp up. They need time to season and develop. They need time to learn the game. The NFL pace is a lot different. Not all rookies are going to come out and go gangbusters. But if he's on the field, he's running deep routes, and Josh Allen's going to be throwing deep balls. And you look at this offense here. Stephon Diggs, 153 targets. Gone. Wiped away. Gabe Davis, 77 targets. Gone. Wiped away. And we have a very ambiguous depth chart here at the wide receiver position. We're going to do a video on Dalton Kincaid. I'm not sleeping on Dalton Kincaid. I'm going to do a whole video on him because he's a very impactful piece in fantasy right now. 84 targets last year as a rookie. When Dawson Knox was out, he got a lot more workload. But Dalton Kincaid's a huge piece here. If you're looking for an upside play that could really help you out, Dalton Kincaid, definitely at the price in your drafts, might be a guy to look at here. And a lot of people are steaming him up when they're talking about him. His value is going to go up a little bit between now and your fantasy drafts, if not already. James Cook, his targets should probably remain about the same. Khalil Shakur, upside. Curtis Samuel, upside. Watch Keon Coleman. And the thing about this, pace of play doesn't really matter about this team. It doesn't matter when it's slow or fast, it's the same. When they pass, they like to throw it deep. Josh Allen wants to sling it deep, and that creates fantasy points for a receiver like Keon Coleman. And you look at the value in drafts. First, looking at underdog, going in the 7th round, but you look at the chart here, holding steady. Holding steady. Even though on Twitter, people are looking at what they're hearing from the Steelers joint practice about him unable to separate a few times from Joey Porter. On top of that, there are some instances where he wasn't able to separate, but there's also instances where he was able to separate. The thing about this, when I look at a player like this, I just look at him as a lottery ticket. I make that draft pick in the middle rounds. Like you see here, he's a 9th round selection per 4for4 multi-site ADP, which is averaged out between all the major sites, ESPN, NFL, Yahoo, and even more. 9th roundish selection. I make that draft pick, and I'm like, hey, you're sitting there, you're on my bench. If you go off, you become a league winner. Great, I'm winning my league. If not, maybe you're volatile, and I can cash in on some spike weeks. If not, cool. I already know you're a lottery ticket, and a lot of the lottery tickets I bought in my lifetime, they ended up in the trash, and maybe he ends up back on the waiver wire. Another thing, if you do not want to pay this price tag, if you want to draft the running backs or the tight ends, maybe he starts off slow and you pick him up off waivers. If you're interested in him and you want something else, if you want one of the running backs, say you're light at running back and you're just pounding running backs, if you're interested in Keon Coleman, you're interested in this profile, and you don't want to draft him here in this range, you know what? Maybe he starts off slow. He is a rookie. He is a rookie, and maybe you can pick him up off waivers as a stash. You don't need him because he's not your preference. There's other rookie wide receivers in this range that you may rather have. There's a lot of running backs in this range to fill out the back end of your depth chart that you may rather have. This part of the draft, I'm going heavy at running back. I'm not drafting many wide receivers. I do recognize him as a lottery ticket. I do have him a little bit more on Underdog Fantasy because of the upside potential, and that might be start of the season, middle of the season, the whole season. I don't know, maybe next year, but it's a lottery ticket. You need him because you want a rookie lottery ticket, and he's one of the guys you're looking at, which makes a lot of sense. Keon Coleman has a lot of upside in this offense. He has that with Josh Allen. He could be good to go getting those deep targets, but he's also a rookie. There is some risk there. That's why I said you need to watch the whole video. That way you look at all the data, everything I'm saying, and figure out for yourself whether you're in or you're out. And maybe if you're kind of toting the line, maybe you just wait for him to have a slow start, which is probably going to happen for a rookie wide receiver. And then you pick him up off waivers, and then you stash him once you figure out what's going on with your fantasy team. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button on the way out. One thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.